The morning started like any other day on Earth. People went to work, children went to school, and the sun rose over cities that had stood for centuries. Then, the sky changed. Admiral Jinwoo Kang was drinking his coffee in the command center when every alarm in the building started screaming at once. He dropped his cup and ran to the main screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Massive ships hung in the sky above every major city on the planet. They were so large that they blocked out the sun, casting shadows that covered entire neighborhoods. "Get me President Park right now," Jinwoo shouted to his team. His hands shook as he pulled up the data. The ships were not from Earth. They were not from Mars or any human colony. These were alien vessels, and there were hundreds of them. Dr. Hana Song was in her lab when the alert came through. She was a scientist who studied alien languages, though until today, she had never actually met an alien. She had spent her whole career preparing for first contact, but she never imagined it would happen like this. The ships hovering over the cities looked like weapons, not like peaceful explorers. She grabbed her tablet and rushed to the government building. The streets were full of people staring up at the sky. Some were crying, others were taking pictures. Many just stood frozen, unable to believe what they were seeing. President Minho Park sat in the emergency council room. Leaders from every nation appeared on screens around him. Everyone was talking at once, voices rising in panic and confusion. He raised his hand for silence. Before he could speak, every screen in the room went black. Then a face appeared. It was not human. The creature had gray skin and eyes that glowed red. Its mouth moved, but the voice that came out spoke perfect Korean, perfect English, perfect Chinese, every language at once. "Primitive species of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was cold and emotionless. "I am Overlord Thane of the Voreth Collective. Your world has been chosen to join our empire. You have 72 of your hours to surrender. Give us your weapons. Dissolve your governments. Your people will serve us. If you resist, we will destroy you. We have conquered 47 worlds before yours. We have never failed. You cannot win." The screen went black again. The room fell silent. President Park looked at the faces of the other leaders. He saw fear, anger, and confusion. Outside the window, the alien ship hung in the air like a dark cloud. Captain Yuna Choi was in her fighter jet when the message came through. She was only 28 years old, the youngest ace pilot in Earth's defense fleet. She had never fought in a real war, only in simulations. Now she looked up at the massive alien ship above her base and realized that everything had changed. "All pilots, return to base immediately," the command came through her radio. She turned her jet around and headed back, her heart pounding. She had trained her whole life for combat, but she never thought the enemy would come from the stars. Dr. Hana Song reached the council building and was rushed into the emergency meeting. President Park looked exhausted. Admiral Jinwoo sat beside him, studying the alien transmission on his tablet. "Can we fight them?" President Park asked. Jinwoo shook his head slowly. "Our weapons are toys compared to theirs. One of their ships has more firepower than our entire fleet. If we fight, we will lose." "Then we surrender?" someone asked from one of the screens. "If we surrender, we lose anyway," Dr. Hana said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "I have been analyzing their message. I found hidden data in the transmission. It shows records of the worlds they conquered. Every species that surrendered was enslaved. Their cultures were destroyed. Many were killed anyway, slowly, over years. So we die quickly or die slowly," another leader said bitterly. President Park stood up and walked to the window. The alien ship blocked out half the sky. He thought about his daughter, about all the children on Earth, about everything humanity had built over thousands of years. Admiral Jinwoo pulled up more data. "They say they destroyed 47 civilizations. But I found something interesting. One of their battles lasted much longer than the others. Someone fought back hard. It cost the Vorath ships and soldiers. They won in the end, but it hurt them. "What good does that do us?" someone asked. "It means they can bleed," Jinwoo said simply. The room fell silent again. Outside, the countdown began. 72 hours. 3 days to decide the fate of Earth. Captain Yuna gathered her squadron in the briefing room. 20 pilots, all young, all scared. She looked at their faces and made a decision. "We all saw the message," she said. "We all know what they want, but here is what I know about humanity. We do not give up. We never have. Our history is full of people who fought when they should have surrendered, who stood up when they should have bowed down. Sometimes they lost, but sometimes they won. And even when they lost, they made the enemy remember them." One of her pilots raised his hand. "Captain, the odds are impossible." Yuna smiled, though her heart was breaking. "The odds are always impossible. That is what makes us human. We try anyway." Back in the council room, President Park made his decision. He looked at Admiral Jinwoo, at Dr. Hana, at all the leaders watching on their screens. "How long did we take to respond to their ultimatum?" he asked. An aide checked the time. "Sir, the message ended 4 minutes ago. We have 71 hours and 56 minutes remaining." President Park walked to the communication console. His finger hovered over the button that would send a message directly to the alien flagship. Every person in the room held their breath. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. "Mr. President," Admiral Jinwoo said softly, "whatever you decide, we stand with you." Minho Park thought of his daughter again. He thought of every human who ever lived, who ever fought, who ever refused to kneel. Then he pressed the button. The whole world was about to learn what humanity really meant. President Minho Park's finger pressed the button. The communication channel opened directly to the alien flagship. Every screen in the council room showed the alien overlord's face appearing, clearly surprised that humans were responding so quickly. "No," President Park said. "Just one word. Simple and clear." The alien's red eyes flickered. "You refuse?" "We refuse," Minho said again. Behind him, every leader on every screen nodded. Some looked terrified, some looked determined, but all of them agreed. The timestamp on the transmission showed exactly 3 seconds had passed since the alien ultimatum ended. 3 seconds to make the choice between surrender and defiance. 3 seconds to decide humanity's fate. Overlord Thane's face showed something that might have been confusion. "You do not understand. We have given you 72 hours to consider. You are making a mistake. You need time to think." Admiral Jinwoo stood up and walked to the camera. "We do not need time. You told us to surrender. We say no. You told us you destroyed 47 civilizations. Good for you. But you have never met us before. We are humanity. We have been trying to destroy ourselves for thousands of years, and we are still here. So good luck trying to do what we could not." The alien's face darkened. "Then you choose extinction." "We choose freedom," President Park said. "Come and take it from us if you can." The transmission ended. For a moment, nobody in the room moved. Then someone started clapping. Soon everyone was on their feet. They had just declared war on an enemy they could not beat. But somehow, it felt right. Captain Yuna Choi watched the president's speech on the screen in her ready room. Her squadron gathered around her. When the president said no, they all cheered. When Admiral Jinwoo challenged the aliens, they banged their fists on the tables. These young pilots knew they would probably die. But they would die fighting. "Suit up," Yuna ordered. "This is what we trained for." "We trained to fight other humans," one pilot said nervously. "Not aliens with super weapons." Yuna strapped on her helmet. "A target is a target. An enemy is an enemy. It does not matter what they look like. It matters that they threatened our home. Now we make them regret it. Dr. Hana Song was working frantically in her lab. She had been studying the alien transmission, breaking down every piece of data. What she found made her both hopeful and terrified. The Vorath had fought that one long battle she mentioned. They won, but they lost 30% of their fleet doing it. That species fought hard, but they still lost in the end. She sent her findings to Admiral Jinwoo with a message. They can be hurt, but we need to be smarter, not just braver. Across Earth, the response to the president's refusal was mixed. Some people celebrated in the streets, proud that humanity would not bow down. Others protested, saying the leaders had just killed everyone. Many simply went home to their families, holding their loved ones close, not knowing if they would see another day. In the military bases around the world, soldiers prepared for battle. They cleaned their weapons, checked their equipment, and wrote letters to their families. Nobody knew if the letters would ever be delivered, but they wrote them anyway. A young technician named Doyen Lee sat in the Cyber Warfare Division, staring at his computer screens. He had been analyzing the alien communication signals, trying to understand their technology. He found something interesting. The aliens used very advanced technology, but their encryption was basic. They had conquered 47 worlds that never fought back properly. They had gotten lazy. "I can hack their communications," Doyen told his supervisor. "I can listen to what they are saying to each other." "Do it," the supervisor said immediately. "Find out what they are planning." On the alien flagship, Overlord Thane spoke with his commanders. "The humans refused," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. "They refused in 3 seconds. Every other species took days to decide. Some took weeks, but these humans did not even think about it." "They are foolish," one commander said. "They will die foolish." "Perhaps," Thane said slowly, "but ready the fleet. Something feels wrong about this. Species that surrender quickly are easy to conquer. Species that refuse quickly are dangerous. They have already made their peace with death." The first attack came 6 hours after the refusal. The Vorath fleet launched missiles at Earth's defense satellites. Hundreds of satellites exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Earth's early warning system was crippled in minutes. Admiral Jinwoo watched the destruction from the command center. "They are testing us," he said calmly. "They want to see how we respond." "How do we respond, sir?" a young officer asked. Jinwoo smiled grimly. "We do what humans do best. We attack." "Sir, they destroyed our satellites. We should defend." "They expect us to defend," Jinwoo said. "That is what the other 47 civilizations did. They protected their homes until the Vorath overwhelmed them. We will not make that mistake. Captain Choi, launch your squadron!" Captain Yuna's fighter screamed into space. Behind her, 19 other fighters followed. They were tiny compared to the massive Vorath ships, like insects attacking an elephant, but they were fast, and they were angry. "All fighters split into groups of 4, Yuna ordered. "Do not engage the big ships. Hit their smaller escorts. Hit them fast and get out. Make them chase us." The human fighters darted between the alien ships like angry wasps. They fired missiles and energy weapons, doing little damage but causing chaos. The Vorath had never fought an enemy that attacked immediately after losing their defenses. It confused them. One Vorath commander tried to target Yuna's fighter, but she was too fast. She spun her ship in a move that would have killed most pilots from the G-force. Her missile struck the Vorath escort ship's engine. It was not destroyed, but it was damaged. "First blood," Yuna said into her radio. Her squadron cheered, but the celebration was short. The Vorath flagship fired its main weapon. A beam of pure energy lanced down from space and struck an abandoned military base in the desert. The base vaporized instantly, leaving a crater 5 miles wide. "This is your warning!" Overlord Thane's voice boomed over every radio and television on Earth. "Surrender now, or we will target your cities." Admiral Jinwoo looked at President Park. The president's face was pale but determined. "Respond," he said quietly. Jinwoo opened the communication channel. "You think you scare us with destruction? We have destroyed ourselves before and rebuilt. We have survived world wars, nuclear weapons, pandemics, and disasters. Every time we fall, we get back up. You want to destroy our cities? Then you will rule over ruins and ghosts. But you will never rule over humanity." Captain Yuna and her squadron regrouped behind the moon. They had lost 2 fighters in the attack, 2 friends who would never come home. Yuna felt tears on her cheeks, but she wiped them away. There would be time to mourn later. Now there was only time to fight. "They will target cities next," one pilot said. "They will kill civilians." "Then we make sure it costs them," Yuna said. "Every city they destroy, we destroy one of their ships. That is the deal. That is humanity's promise." Back on Earth, Doyen Lee finally broke into the Vorath communication network. What he heard made him smile despite the fear in his heart. The aliens were arguing among themselves. Some wanted to retreat. Some wanted to use their planet-destroying weapon immediately. They were not unified. They were scared. He sent the recording to Admiral Jinwoo with a simple message. "They are afraid of us. We are winning." Jinwoo played the recording for President Park and the Council. They heard the fear in the alien voices. They heard the confusion. And they understood something important. The Vorath were bullies. They had only fought victims before. Now they faced predators, and they did not know what to do. "Send a message to all of humanity," President Park said. "Tell them we are not winning. Tell them we are losing badly. But tell them this: the aliens are more afraid than we are." 20 hours had passed since humanity said no. Earth had lost half of its defense fleet. 3 cities had been evacuated as the Vorath weapons destroyed military bases near them. But something unexpected was happening. The aliens were slowing down. Dr. Hana Song stood in the command center with Admiral Jinwoo, watching the battle unfold on the screens. The Vorath ships moved in perfect formations, coordinated and precise. They followed a clear strategy, just like they had in their previous 47 conquests. "They fight like machines," Hana said thoughtfully. "Everything is planned. Everything is organized." "And that is their weakness," Jinwoo replied. "Watch what happens when we do something unpredictable." He gave an order to a small group of civilian mining ships that had been armed with whatever weapons could be found. "Ignore the main fleet. Go around them and hit their supply ships in the back." The Vorath commanders were confused. Why would the humans ignore the main battle to attack insignificant supply vessels? It made no strategic sense. They pulled back some of their warships to protect the supplies, breaking their perfect formation. "Now hit them where they are weak," Jinwoo ordered. The main Earth fleet struck at the gap in the Vorath formation. 3 alien escort ships were destroyed before they could reposition. On the Vorath flagship, Overlord Thane slammed his fist on the console. "They do not follow any military doctrine. They do not think like soldiers. How do we fight an enemy with no strategy?" "They have a strategy, Overlord," his second-in-command said nervously. "Their strategy is chaos. They do whatever we do not expect." Captain Yuna Choi had been flying combat missions for 18 hours straight. Her body ached and her eyes burned with exhaustion. But she refused to stop. She had lost 5 pilots from her squadron, 5 friends who would never see Earth again. "Captain, you need to rest," her wing commander said over the radio. "You cannot fly like this." "I can fly until I die," Yuna replied grimly. "Just like they did." She dove her fighter toward a Vorath cruiser, firing everything she had. The alien ship's shields held, but she was not trying to destroy it. She was trying to make them angry, to make them chase her. And it worked. The cruiser broke formation to pursue her single fighter. "Come on, you ugly bastard," Yuna muttered. Follow me! She led the alien cruiser into a trap where 10 other human fighters waited. They swarmed the ship from all sides. The cruiser's shields failed and explosions ripped through its hull. Yuna watched it die and felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. On Earth, an engineer named Sumin Ko was working in an old factory that had been abandoned for decades. The government had asked all civilians with technical skills to help the war effort. Sumin was building bombs from mining equipment, turning peaceful tools into weapons of war. "This is insane," her assistant said. "We are making weapons from rock drills and excavators." "Insane is all we have," Sumin replied. "The aliens have better technology. So we cannot fight them with technology. We fight them with creativity and desperation." She activated her creation, a massive mining laser that had been modified to fire in pulses. It was crude and probably dangerous to the user, but it worked. The laser could cut through the hull of smaller alien ships. "Send this design to every factory on Earth," Sumin told the government liaison. "If we are going to die, we are going to die building weapons until the very end." Do-Yun Lee had not slept since the war began. He sat in front of his computers, fingers flying over the keyboards as he broke deeper into the Vorath systems. He could read their messages now. He could see their battle plans before they implemented them. But what he found in their database made him stop cold. The Vorath had records of their 47 conquered worlds. He opened the files and read them one by one. Every species had surrendered after their first major defeat. Every species had tried to negotiate. Every species had valued survival over freedom. "That is why they always won," Do-Yun said aloud to his empty room. "They never fought anyone crazy enough to keep fighting." He found something else in the files. Videos of the one species that had resisted longer than the others. They were called the Kelvor. They fought bravely for 3 months before the Vorath overwhelmed them. In the videos, Do-Yun saw Kelvor soldiers fighting with honor and discipline. But he did not see what he saw in human forces. He did not see the wild desperation, the improvised weapons, the reckless tactics. The Kelvor fought like professional soldiers. Humans fought like cornered animals. He sent his findings to Dr. Hana Song with a message: "We are not braver than the others. We are crazier. That is our advantage." Hana read the message and smiled sadly. Do-Yun was right. Every other species approached war as a logical problem to be solved. Humans approached war as something personal, emotional, and impossible to predict. It was humanity's greatest weakness and greatest strength. A quantum physicist named Dr. Yoonji Nam was working in a secret laboratory beneath Seoul. She had been studying the energy signatures of the Vorath shields when she noticed something unusual. The shields pulsed at a specific frequency, and that frequency had a harmonic resonance point. "If we can match that frequency," she told her team, "we might be able to disrupt their shields." "Might?" one of her colleagues asked. "Science is full of mights," Yoonji replied. "But right now, a might is better than a definitely not." She worked for 6 hours straight, calculating and recalculating. Finally, she had it. A weapon that could emit the exact frequency needed to disrupt Vorath shields for a few seconds. It would not destroy them, but it would give human weapons a chance to get through. "Send this to Admiral Kang immediately," she ordered. When Jinwoo received Yoonji's research, he immediately put it into production. Within 4 hours, every remaining human ship had been equipped with the frequency disruptor. It was rushed and untested. It might not work, but humans had stopped caring about might or might not. They only cared about trying. Commander Taeyang Im led the Mars Defense Force, the military ships that protected humanity's colony on the Red Planet. He and Admiral Jinwoo had been rivals for 20 years, competing for promotions and recognition. They had barely spoken in a decade. When Taeyang received the call for help from Earth, he did not hesitate. "All ships, prepare for acceleration to Earth," he ordered. "Maximum speed." "Sir, If we leave Mars, the colony is undefended, his second officer said. If Earth falls, Mars falls anyway, Taeyang replied. Our only chance is to fight together. The Mars fleet arrived in Earth orbit 30 hours after the war began. It was not a large fleet, only 20 ships, but it was 20 more than the Vorath expected. Admiral Jinwoo almost cried when he saw them appear on his screens. Taeyang, you beautiful bastard, Jinwoo said over the communication channel. Save the love for after we win, old friend, Taeyang replied. Where do you need us? Everywhere, Jinwoo said honestly. The combined Earth and Mars forces launched a coordinated attack using Dr. Yunji's frequency disruptors. For the first time, human weapons began to penetrate Vorath shields. Alien ships that had seemed invincible started taking real damage. On the Vorath flagship, Overlord Thane watched his fleet status with growing horror. In 30 hours of fighting, he had lost 40% of his ships, 40%. His previous longest battle had cost him 10% losses over 3 months. Send a priority message to the Vorath homeworld, he ordered. Request immediate reinforcements. Tell them these humans are not like anything we have encountered before. Tell them they do not fear death. They embrace it. His communication officer looked confused. Overlord, that makes no sense. How can a species embrace death? Thane pointed at the screen showing human fighters attacking ships 50 times their size. Look at them. They know they will die. They know they cannot win each individual battle, but they attack anyway. They sacrifice themselves to damage us, to slow us down, to hurt us. I have never seen anything like it in my 300 years of service. He sent the message and prayed to his gods that reinforcements would arrive soon. Because for the first time in his long military career, Overlord Thane was afraid he might lose. 48 hours since humanity refused to surrender. The sky above Earth burned with the debris of destroyed ships, both human and alien. The Vorath fleet had been reduced by half, but so had Earth's defense forces. The cost of defiance was written in blood and fire across the solar system. Then the Vorath changed their strategy. If they could not break humanity's military, they would break their spirit. The targeting systems on the flagship powered up, aimed not at military bases but at cities. Sydney, Australia. Population 4 million. The orbital bombardment lasted 6 seconds. When the dust cleared, the city was gone. Nothing remained but a crater of melted glass and ash. 2 million people had been in the evacuation shelters underground. 2 million more had not made it in time. President Minho Park watched the live satellite footage. He watched his choice, his 3-second refusal, turn into 2 million deaths. His hands trembled. His breath came in short gasps. Someone was screaming, and he realized it was him. Admiral Jinwoo grabbed his shoulder. Minho, stay with me. I killed them, Park whispered. I said no, and I killed 2 million people. The Vorath killed them, Jinwoo said firmly. This is what they do. This is why we fight. If we had surrendered, they would have killed us slowly over years. At least now we die on our feet. But Park could not be comforted. He had to visit Sydney. He had to see what his decision had cost. Against all advice, he took a transport to the ruins of the city. The smell hit him first, burning metal and chemicals and death. He walked through the devastation in a protective suit, his security team following nervously. Then he saw her. A young woman, maybe 20 years old, covered in ash and blood, pulling bodies from the rubble with her bare hands. "Why are you still here?" Park asked gently. She looked up at him. Her eyes were hollow with grief. "My family was in Sector 7. I am looking for them." "Let my people help you," Park offered. "No," she said. "You should be leading the war, not helping me dig. This is not your fault. This is theirs. Make them pay for what they did." Park knelt beside her in the ashes. Was this worth it? he asked quietly. Was my refusal worth this? The woman stopped digging. She looked at him with tears cutting through the ash on her face. My grandfather fought in the last war Earth had. He told me something before he died. He said that some things are worse than death. Slavery is worse. Losing your humanity is worse. Yes, Mr. President, this was worth it. Not because we wanted to die, but because we wanted to live free. Park helped her dig until his security team forced him to leave. On the transport back to the command center, he recorded a message to all of humanity. Today, Sydney fell. 2 million of our brothers and sisters are gone. I have just come from the ruins. I spoke with a survivor. She told me this was worth it, but I do not know if I believe her. I do not know if anything is worth this much death. But I know this. We cannot go back. We cannot undo my choice. We can only move forward. We can only make their sacrifice mean something, so we will keep fighting, not because we want to, but because we must. The message went viral across Earth. Some people hated him for it, some loved him, but everyone understood. There was no going back now. Captain Yuna Choi watched Sydney die from space. Her fighter had been on patrol above Australia. She saw the beam of energy lance down from the Vorath flagship. She saw the city evaporate, and she could do nothing to stop it. "All fighters, listen to me," she said over the squadron channel. Her voice was cold and flat. "The gloves are off. No more hit and run. No more tactical retreats. We are going straight for their flagship. We are going to kill their overlord." "Captain, that is suicide," one of her pilots said. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "It is. But 2 million people just died. The least we can do is make the bastard who ordered it die too." 15 fighters followed her into the attack. They were the last survivors of her original squadron of 20. They had all lost friends. They had all been flying for 2 days without real sleep. They were exhausted, traumatized, and furious. The Vorath flagship's defenses activated. Energy weapons lit up space like a deadly firework display. 3 fighters died in the first 10 seconds. 5 more were damaged, but kept flying. The remaining 7 pushed through to the flagship's hull. "Target their weapon systems," Yuna ordered. "We cannot destroy this ship, but we can cripple it." They fired everything they had: missiles, energy weapons, even their emergency flares. The flagship's shields held against most of it, but some damage got through. The massive ship's main weapon sparked and went offline. "Weapons disabled!" someone shouted over the radio. "We did it!" Then the flagship's point defense systems found them. Yuna watched 2 more fighters explode. Only 5 left now. Her own ship was hit, systems failing, hull breaching. She fought with the controls, trying to keep flying. "Captain, eject!" her wing commander shouted. "Eject now!" "Negative," Yuna said calmly. She aimed her failing fighter directly at the weapon system she had just damaged. "You 4, get out of here! Tell Earth that Sydney has been avenged!" "Captain, no!" But Yuna had already killed her radio. She pushed her fighter's reactor to maximum power, overriding every safety system. The reactor began to overload. She had maybe 30 seconds before it exploded. She thought of her family. She thought of the 2 million people who died in Sydney. She thought of every pilot she had lost. Then she thought of nothing at all as her fighter impacted the Vorath flagship's weapon system. The explosion tore through 3 decks of the massive ship. The main weapon that had destroyed Sydney would never fire again. Deep in the Vorath ship's damaged sections, an escape pod automatically launched. Inside, barely conscious, Captain Yuna Choi drifted into space. The Vorath detected the pod and recovered it. Their overlord wanted to know what kind of species would die just to damage their enemy. On Earth, a civilian scientist named Junho Bae was working on a desperate plan. The Vorath had more ships coming. Admiral Jinwoo's intelligence said reinforcements would arrive in 48 hours. Earth could not survive another attack. Junho had studied Earth's magnetic field for 20 years. He knew it better than anyone alive. He had an idea, but it was insane. If it failed, it would kill everyone on Earth. If it succeeded, it might just save them. "We can overload our own magnetic field," he explained to Dr. Hana Song. "Create a pulse that will disable every electronic system in the solar system, including ours." Including theirs. "That would leave us defenseless," Hana said. "We are already defenseless," Junho replied. "But at least this gives us a chance. The Vorath technology is more advanced, more complex. The pulse will hurt them more than it hurts us, and our equipment is easier to repair." Hana brought the plan to Admiral Jinwoo. He listened carefully, then laughed bitterly. "So you want to break all our toys and all their toys and hope we can fix ours first?" "Yes," Junho said simply. "It is the stupidest plan I have ever heard," Jinwoo said. Then he smiled. "Which means it is crazy enough to work. Do it." Junho and his team worked around the clock to prepare the magnetic pulse weapon. It required 17 nuclear reactors running at maximum output simultaneously. One mistake, and they would melt down, creating a radioactive wasteland. Meanwhile, Doyen Lee continued his cyber warfare. He had penetrated so deep into the Vorath systems that he could listen to Overlord Thane's personal communications. What he heard made him smile despite everything. "The humans do not stop," Thane was saying to his homeworld. "We destroy their cities, and they attack harder. We kill their soldiers, and more appear. We cripple their fleet, and they use civilian ships. I do not understand this species. They should be begging for mercy. Instead, they are planning new ways to hurt us." "Then use the World Breaker," the voice from the homeworld commanded. "Crack their planet. End this war." "If I use the World Breaker, there will be nothing left to conquer," Thane protested. "The humans will all die. But so will any resource value of Earth." "Then they have already won," the voice said coldly. "They have made conquest too expensive. Finish them or withdraw." Doyun sent this recording to everyone. The president, the admiral, the public. Humanity needed to know that the aliens were considering retreat. They needed to know that their sacrifice was working. In her lab beneath Seoul, Dr. Yoonji Nam detected unusual energy readings from the Vorath flagship. She recognized the signature. It was the World Breaker weapon, the Planet Cracker. They were powering it up. "We have maybe 6 hours," she told Admiral Jinwoo. "Then they will fire that weapon and split Earth in half." Jinwoo looked at the countdown for Junho's magnetic pulse weapon. It needed 8 more hours to prepare. "We are 2 hours short," he said quietly. "Then we make those 2 hours," Jinwoo replied. "Every ship we have left, every pilot who can fly, every weapon we can fire. We throw everything at that flagship. We do not let them fire that weapon." 68 hours since humanity said no. The final battle for Earth was about to begin. Every ship humanity had left gathered for one last attack. Military vessels, civilian transports armed with whatever weapons could be mounted, even old museum ships that had not flown in decades. If it could move and carry a weapon, it was in the fleet. 300 ships against the 50 Vorath vessels that remained. It should have been an advantage, but the Vorath ships were so much more powerful that the odds were still against humanity. Admiral Jinwoo Kang stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the fleet. So many ships. So many people about to die. He thought of his wife and son, safe in a bunker beneath Seoul. He had recorded a message for them just in case. He hoped they would never need to watch it. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang," he said over the fleet-wide channel. "In 6 hours, the Vorath will fire a weapon that will destroy our planet. Our job is to stop them, not to survive, not to win, just to stop them for 6 hours so that Dr. Bay's magnetic pulse weapon can be activated. I will not lie to you. Most of us will die, maybe all of us. But Earth will live. Humanity will continue. That is enough. That has to be enough." The fleet accelerated toward the Vorath flagship. Every human pilot knew they were flying to their deaths, but not one ship turned back. On the Vorath flagship, Overlord Thane watched the human fleet approach. "They are all coming," he said with something that might have been respect. "Every ship they have left. They know it is hopeless, but they come anyway." "The World Breaker will be ready in 5 hours," his weapons officer reported. "Shall we fire on their fleet?" "No," Thane said quietly. "Let them come. They have earned the right to die trying." In her cell, deep in the Vorath ship, Captain Yuna Choi regained consciousness. Her body hurt everywhere. Burns covered her arms where her flight suit had failed. But she was alive, barely. The Vorath had kept her alive to study. They wanted to understand what made humans so willing to die. A Vorath guard watched her through the energy field of her cell. "Why do you fight?" it asked in broken English. "You cannot win. Why not surrender and live?" Yuna laughed, and it turned into a cough that brought blood to her lips. "You really do not understand us, do you? We do not fight to win. We fight because not fighting means we are already dead inside. We fight because surrender is worse than death. We fight because we are human, and that is what humans do." The guard seemed confused. "That is not logical." "Love is not logical," Yuna said. "Hope is not logical. Freedom is not logical. But they are real, and they are worth dying for." The battle began. Human ships swarmed the Vorath fleet like angry bees. They could not match the aliens in firepower or shields, but they had numbers and desperation. For every Vorath ship, there were 6 human ships willing to ram it if necessary. Commander Taeyang Im led the Mars fleet in a flanking attack. His ships had been modified with Sumin Ko's mining laser weapons. They cut through the hull of a Vorath destroyer, exposing it to space. The destroyer's crew evacuated, and the ship went dark. "First kill," Taeyang reported to Admiral Jinwoo. "But we lost 8 ships doing it." "Keep going," Jinwoo replied. "We do not need to win. We just need to slow them down." Dr. Yoonji Nam worked frantically in her lab. The World Breaker's energy signature was growing stronger. She had maybe 4 hours now, not 6. The weapon was powering up faster than predicted. She sent an urgent message to Admiral Jinwoo. "They are accelerating the charge," Jinwoo said after reading it. "We have 4 hours, not 6. "Then we buy 4 hours," Taeyang said grimly. "Whatever it takes." Doyen Lee sat at his computer station, fingers flying across the keyboards. He had been inside the Vorath systems for 3 days now. He knew their networks better than they did. He sent viruses and logic bombs, crashing systems and creating chaos. Every minute he could delay them was another minute Earth survived. Then he found it, deep in the Vorath database, hidden behind layers of encryption. The command codes for the World Breaker weapon. If he could lock them out of their own weapon system, even for an hour, it might be enough. He began the hack, knowing the Vorath would detect it immediately, knowing they would trace it back to him, knowing they would fire everything they had at his location. But he did not care. His fingers kept typing, even as the alarm klaxons began to wail in his building. On the Vorath flagship, the cybersecurity systems detected Doyen's intrusion. "Someone is trying to lock us out of the World Breaker controls," the security officer reported. "They are very good. I need time to stop them." "How much time?" Thane asked. 30 minutes, maybe." "We do not have 30 minutes, Thane said. He looked at his tactical display. The human fleet was taking terrible losses, but still fighting. 70 human ships had been destroyed, but they had disabled 10 more Vorath vessels. The attack was working. "Fire on the source of the hack. Destroy it." A missile streaked down from orbit toward Doyen's building in Seoul. Doyen saw it coming on his screens. He had 15 seconds. His fingers moved faster than they ever had in his life. 11 seconds. He was almost through the final encryption layer. 7 seconds. The Vorath security was fighting him, trying to shut him out. 3 seconds. The hack completed. The World Breaker weapon systems locked, command codes scrambled. It would take the Vorath hours to regain control. Maybe days. 1 second. Doyen looked at the picture of his parents on his desk. He hoped they were proud. 0. The building exploded. Doyen Lee died instantly, but his legacy lived on. The World Breaker was disabled. On the flagship, Thane stared at his useless weapon controls in disbelief. "They did it," he whispered. "One of them hacked the World Breaker. One person stopped our ultimate weapon." His second-in-command looked terrified. "Overlord, the human fleet is closing. We have lost 15 ships. Our casualties are at 60%. We need to retreat." "The collective does not retreat," Thane said automatically. But the words felt hollow. They had lost. Not to superior technology or greater numbers. They had lost to the sheer, insane determination of a species that refused to quit. Junho Bay's magnetic pulse weapon was almost ready. 2 more hours. Admiral Jinwoo looked at his fleet status. He had lost 200 ships. Only 100 remained. But they had held. They had bought the time needed. "All ships, pull back to defensive positions," Jinwoo ordered. "Protect Dr. Bay's facility at all costs. We are almost there." But the Vorath had one last surprise. A massive ship, larger than any they had deployed before, emerged from faster-than-light travel. The World Ender, the flagship of the Vorath Collective's Supreme Commander. "This is Supreme Commander Var," a new voice boomed across all frequencies. "Overlord Thane, you have failed to conquer a primitive world. You have shamed the Collective. I am here to finish this war personally." The World Ender's weapons charged. It was even more powerful than Thane's flagship. It could destroy what remained of the human fleet with a single salvo. But then something unexpected happened. On Thane's flagship, Captain Yuna Choi had escaped her cell. The explosion from Doyun's hack had disrupted the power systems, and her energy field had failed. She had stolen a weapon from a guard and fought her way to the ship's communication center. She activated the internal broadcast. "Vorath soldiers, this is Captain Yuna Choi of Earth. I have been listening to your communications. I know many of you are tired of this war. I know many of you think your leaders are wrong. I am offering you a choice. Help us stop the World Ender, and we will let you leave peacefully. Continue fighting, and we all die together. What will it be?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, Vorath ships began to power down their weapons. Not all of them, but enough. A mutiny was spreading through the Vorath fleet. "Traitors!" Supreme Commander Var screamed. "I will destroy you all!" The World Ender began firing, but not at Earth. It fired at the Vorath ships that had surrendered. In the chaos, Admiral Jinwoo saw his chance. "All remaining ships, target the World Ender," he ordered. "Everything we have, now!" The last 100 human ships, along with a dozen Vorath vessels that had joined them, attacked the World Ender. It was the most powerful ship in the Vorath fleet, but it could not fight in all directions at once. Aboard the original Vorath flagship, Overlord Thane made his choice. He had lost his honor, his fleet, his war, but he could still stop his Supreme Commander from destroying everything. He activated the self-destruct sequence on his own ship and rammed it into the World Ender. Both massive vessels exploded in a blast that lit up space like a second sun. When the light faded, the World Ender was gone. The Vorath fleet was in chaos, and Junho Bay activated his magnetic pulse weapon. The wave of electromagnetic energy swept across the solar system, shutting down every electronic system. Human ships went dark. Vorath ships went dark. Every screen, every computer, every weapon system failed. For the first time in 72 hours, the sky above Earth was silent. In the darkness, humanity waited. They had survived. But had they won? 3 months later, Earth had rebuilt much of what was lost. The magnetic pulse had done exactly what Junho predicted. The Vorath technology was too complex to repair quickly. Human technology, simpler and more robust, came back online in weeks. The remaining Vorath ships, unable to function, had surrendered. Admiral Jinwoo Kang, now retired, stood at the memorial in Sydney. 4 million names were carved into the black stone. So many dead, so much lost. But Earth stood free. President Minho Park joined him. "Was it worth it?" he asked quietly. The same question he had asked in the ashes. "I do not know," Jinwoo admitted. "But we made our choice. We lived with it. That is all anyone can do." Captain Yuna Choi, promoted to admiral after her survival, prepared to lead humanity's first liberation fleet. The Vorath had given them the coordinates of 47 conquered worlds. Earth would free them all. Dr. Hana Song addressed the United Earth Council. "We learned something important in this war. We learned that freedom is not free. We learned that some things are worth dying for. But most importantly, we learned that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our weapons. It is our refusal to accept the unacceptable." A message was sent into deep space, broadcast on all known frequencies, translated into every language humans had encountered in the Vorath database. "This is Earth. We were given 3 days to surrender. We took 3 seconds to refuse. That is all the time a human needs to choose freedom over slavery. We have defeated the Vorath Collective. We now offer our hand to any world that suffers under oppression. We do not seek to conquer. We do not seek to rule. But we will not stand by while others are enslaved. This is humanity's promise." In the ruins of the Vorath Collective, scattered across 100 worlds, the message was heard, and many species began to hope for the first time in centuries. Help was coming. Humanity was coming. The age of human defiance had begun.